My parents won the lottery, and I've never done a story time, so today I'm going to do a story time on how we won the lottery. I had some obvious reasons to never speak about this and never try and associate with it because growing up, whenever anyone did know of it, they definitely crazy perceptions of us immediately. Like growing up in Australia, it made it even more strange than it already is, which is pretty strange. I grew up in Adelaide, South Australia with a younger sister, older brother, and mum and dad. So very normal. We were definitely more of the lower class income. We had a home that I remember at this stage, my parents were fighting to keep and very much paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. And then my dad, being a bit of a gambler, one time used the same repeat numbers he'd been using for, I believe, 5 years, a long ass time, and he won the lottery. And overnight, we went from pretty decently poor to multimillionaires, and life obviously changed from there. It was the most interesting thing to obviously happen to us, but growing up, being so young, I had no understanding of the lottery or money or what that really meant and how unique it was to happen to us. So it wasn't until years later it really made more sense to me as to why life was very different, and even relationships with family and friends growing up were very different. I remember getting picked up from school by my mum with my younger sister. She's 2 years younger than me. My mum was saying, you have a huge surprise, to tell you about when you get home. And of course, at that age, my sister and I, all we could think about was, my mum's gonna have another baby. We're gonna have a little sibling. And I remember being pretty excited and pumped for that. And when we got home, my mum and dad took us three kids into a room and literally showed us a gigantic check. A gigantic check. And I remember not thinking much of it other than just the excitement my parents had obviously made me excited. But at that age, I had no understanding of money and how much that really was going to change our life. And I remember my mum and dad being so over the top paranoid because the only real public lottery stories were from over in America. Usually that was $1 billion or hundreds of millions of dollars. People would get kidnapped and crazy shit would happen, and my parents were so worried that would happen to us. So I remember we took 2 weeks off school. My parents tried to plan how to do life because they didn't have anyone that came from money. They really had to figure it all out on their own. And my mum did really well. Definitely managed to keep us afloat for the years to come. Now, obviously my parents aren't millionaires, multimillionaires, but they definitely have remained comfortable because of this over a decade ago, which I think is really impressive, but had implications on us all, especially us kids. You have this weird mentality of work and value of money, and even though we grew up still very structured in a way that if we wanted something, we had to have a reason to get it, or work towards it in a way. I feel like the experience of winning the lottery makes you have no option to be a normal person, down the direction of feeling like you need to be something else and pushing, whether it's this celebrity life or whatever it is, because that's what feels more natural. A normal lifestyle never felt natural. It wasn't because we had crazy money and we'd go and be lavish, because we remained pretty normal. But it was more so just of life was very different. And for the longest time, I would always go back and forth on wanting to share my story and share this as a part of it, to then feeling so embarrassed by it. Because growing up, at least in Australia, it felt like people that did become aware of it would always make it very clear that we didn't deserve because we didn't work hard. Even growing up, we had the most beautiful house. It was blueprint for a reality show. It was on a street with doctors and priests that owned churches. And it was us, and we were this bogan lottery family. And so very often we'd feel out of place in between of these two realities and just not fitting in anywhere. And that's the truth. Not until I came to LA did I feel like I belonged and it was normal, because there's so many crazy people here with crazy lives and realities and journeys. Back home, I often felt like an outcaster. Even my parents definitely carry this weird kind of guilt for having the money, and obviously feeling like it was a luck thing. It just came out of nowhere. My mum was very generous and helping family. Growing up, my best friends would spend Christmas Eve and stay over at ours and have Santa come with presents. Boys were very inclusive to those. We'd always feel bad. We'd always not feel bad for them directly, but more so feel bad that we were so lucky and necessarily have an answer. Even though we played the lottery like everyone else. But I definitely was made to feel that it wasn't anything to be proud of. Now where I reflect on my life and my journey and how much it really has had such an impact. Even today, I still have so many unique experiences that to me make the most sense, because I grew up as a kid of a lottery winner. So the shit never made sense. We have so many crazy stories where we're this small town family with, no money that then goes to having crazy money and taking limousines to the airport just to fly like interstate, because we just want to experience things. And where I was from, that was very weird. Like, my parents divorced a decade later. We had to sell like a lot of our assets. It's like a different reality now. It's still very unique. It's still very unique. It was a very interesting experience that I'm still yet to have connected with anyone, or like seen a story on, and a personal kind of like approach to it of how it kind of impacted them, how it affected their life. And I've lived it. I've very much lived it, and very much lived a very crazy life since my parents won the lottery over a decade ago. Like, having perceptions of how people would see me, like, a lot of it's become just like deep insecurities, motives from other people, and everything like that, as you would expect. Obviously, it was the biggest blessing, and I'm still to this day grateful for it, how it happened to our family and how it changed our lives. So my relationship with the whole like experience is very different now to growing up, because growing up I did feel like I had to hide it, like somewhat embarrassed that my parents didn't work for their money. Now I'm like, holy shit, that was a really crazy, whether it's luck, fate, or whatever it is, crazy thing to happen to us. And I just wanted to finally share that. It does unravel parts of me, be more understood than they would be without knowing.